Jeffrey, you got to get a sucking from me, buddy.
That was an aggressive lift like that. Come on, break the record, Jeff. Oh, this is 10 seconds. 12 seconds. 15 seconds for the record. Oh, my God. It's a new record.
Let me have the mic. Can I have the mic? So blow, Seminoles wind, blow like you're never gonna blow again.
Well, I'm here. I'm not sure where Corey went. He was supposed to come out here. He's supposed to be here for this big win. The Noles had lost. Oh, it's coming in hot.
I made it.
Team again.
Cheers! Go Noles!
Go Noles!
Hi guys, nice to see y'all. It's been a long time.
Final hour / Warchant Game Day. Unique set of circumstances today for all of us as Florida State plays tonight on a Friday night, like a high school. But that's what we get. That's what we get. And we wanted to do both a Jeff Cameron show today as well as a Warchant Game Day. So we have merged the two for this hour, and we will get after it beginning now. So a little bit different deal on a Libations Friday, if you will, and a Game Day Friday for the Warchant Game Day edition of the Jeff Cameron show. But nonetheless, we do have to preview this game, and I think it's an imminently winnable game. I've said it all week long, and I watched some more this morning, Tom. I had a terrible time sleeping last night. Don't know why. So if I'm a little loopy today, that's what it is. But I used the time wisely. I watched some Duke. I watched some Duke, Tom. There you go. I figured I'd get even more prepared. I got to tell you, I don't know how I'd feel if I were a Duke fan. On the one hand, I'd say, my goodness, we're 5-1. On the other hand, I think that we should be 1-5 because they stink. I'm going to be honest with you, Tom. The more I watch them, the more I think we should clobber Duke, and we stink. So it's really something here as you try to pit these two teams and match them up and talk about either one of them. It's really hard to find positives for either team. I don't like Duke's quarterback. I don't like their offense at all. I don't like I guess the best thing I can say about Duke, and this is big picture stuff as we lead off the hour, is that they do play hard. Manny's got them believing, and they are fundamentally sound. I think they do some things a lot better than FSU because we're not fundamentally sound. We do a lot of stupid things. We don't communicate. We have breakdowns all over the field all the time. Duke doesn't really do that. They don't have those kinds of breakdowns when you watch them. It's just that they're not talented at all. And so when you kind of watch them, you think, like Manny's blitzing all the time. And I think he's blitzing because that's the only way they're going to get into the backfield. Like they're not going to win up front. Like that front four doesn't do anything for me at all. I suspect they're going to try to get A-gap pressure in this game against us because why wouldn't you? If you already blitz a lot, why wouldn't you blitz a team that's, switching out their guards? So there's that. There's a lot of things that, I'm going to be looking for early in this game. But if Florida State can score in the 20s tonight, I think they win.
Well, it feels like it's going to be a close game then because there are multiple times I've looked at a team before kickoff and said they're not very good at all. And we lose, like Memphis. When in Memphis, previous games prior to the Florida State game, Troy pushes them around when Troy goes goal line, offensive line for defensive line.
Yeah.
at that point, I salivate and I say, well, surely we're not so inept as to, be worse than Troy at pushing Memphis around. Surely we're just going to call things that are straight ahead,
right?
Because it is begging for it's a 3-man front. It's a 3-man front with little people. Okay, I think we're just going to run straight ahead, and we don't. It's like, well, the opponent can be something, or the opponent can be nothing,
and it hasn't mattered.
Well, we have an us problem. And
there's no doubt. That's what, yeah. And that's exactly right, Tom. You're right to push back that way. You are correct. I'm looking at it through the filter of I'm a football guy looking at football things, talking about football, and I watch Duke and I go, that's not a very good team. And I know what their record is. I mean, for those that are wondering, like if you heard me say that, you say, well, they're 5-1, Jeff. Yeah, they got to win over Elon. They got an overtime win over Northwestern, which I watched that game because I lost money on it. I'm just not going to lie to you. I picked Northwestern. They should have won the game. They were the better team. They lost in overtime. And by the way, Northwestern has subsequently, after that game, changed their quarterback. And since they did that, they've been worlds better. So, okay, Duke, you get a win over a Northwestern team that has since fired their quarterback, basically, in overtime. And then you beat UConn 26-21, like whoopity-doo. So now we have wins over overtime Northwestern, Elon, and UConn. And by the way, a fourth win is against is Middle Tennessee State, who's just scored 14 against Kennesaw and didn't cover the number.
Right.
So
well, what you're saying is Duke is scheduling like Duke should schedule, is what you're saying.
Or these days how we should schedule. But yes, I mean, it's like, honestly, I mean, I'm not impressed. Their other win, by the way, I failed to mention, I'm sorry, they got 5 wins, is the 21-20 win over North Carolina, who I think has quit on Mac Brown. And, oh, by the way, North Carolina was up 20-0 in that game.
Yeah.
And somehow found a way to lose 21-20. So I just don't think Duke is good. Now, it is fair to come right back and say, well, good, because we stink. And let's go watch these two awful teams on a Friday night. That about summarizes the season, doesn't it?
Mm. Yes, we're in that situation where, well, why don't they stick us at Wednesday at noon, like the old USF window? That's where we are. That's where this team is. The thing that we feel today, because I'm excited to watch us. I am. I always am. Even in lean years, and this is the leanest of the lean. Or do you call this actually probably a fatty year? Like, this is a bad piece of meat. You're like, is there any meat in here? Or is this all just going to be fatty, fat?
Gristle.
Yeah, is the youth. It's Brock.
Correct.
What does Brock do? What do these young guards do? Now, that could be scary, and it is going to be at times just awful. Do they give LaWayne McCoy more time? Landon Thomas, Amari Williams? All right, give them a couple of weeks. They've shown you something. Landon Thomas was your leading receiver in your last football game. Makes me sad thinking about it. We didn't use him earlier.
You get choked up. Well, in fairness,
Williams catches his first touchdown pass. So all of these things on offense. Mike Norvell says schematically they're going to look at things differently. This is the intrigue for tonight. Duke might be susceptible to giving up more things than most teams in the rest of our schedule. The one limiting factor for me that leaves me not feeling so confident is that Manny will blitz. This is a group, you're right, they're outgunned. So it's like Bruce Arians telling Jameis Winston, no risk it, no biscuit. Like, you're telling the wrong guy to be aggressive.
Right.
Jameis is the wrong man to tell to be aggressive on the football field. Manny Diaz is the wrong guy to tell you need to blitz more. But in this case, because you have youth in the interior of the offensive line, and Maurice Smith ain't exactly been communicating well this year.
He also just hasn't played well physically.
Right, exactly. So this is the communication stuff that Manny might be in a situation where he looks like a genius more often than not tonight. There's a lot of sifting through the muck that Brock is going to have to do.
Okay, so a couple of things. It is interesting in this way, and it is fun to preview the game without being snarky too. So in fairness, I am really curious to see what Mike has dialed up coming out of a bye with his new quarterback and his young players that I don't know how much he trusts. So what has he dialed up to combat the blitz? You recall me talking about on the air a lack of creativity that has me concerned. I've talked about the Mike Norvell from a few years back and going back and watching games because I was searching, and much the way he's searching and we're all searching. I was searching for what was missing. I was trying to find things, and I found a lot of things, but one of the things that stood out to me in going back and watching those old games, not from a year ago, but from 2 and 3 years ago, it was the creativity. Mike was dialing stuff up left and right when he knew he was outgunned, or if he had an element of his team that wasn't plus, he found a way to scheme around it or hide it and did things to help it out, and he that's one of the great compliments I've ever paid Mike Norvell, is that guy could find a way to run the football when he couldn't run the football. He was scheming extra gap stuff. He was doing all this stuff. I mean, we go back, we've talked about it a lot. How in the world they ran the ball on that Clemson team a few years ago is stunning. When they've come out in the Notre Dame game that they pushed to overtime, they found ways to run the ball and create big explosive plays, and they were outgunned physically at the line of scrimmage, and they did that. All of that's been gone. All of that has just dissipated away. You don't see any creativity whatsoever with this offense. It's been very predictable, but I would like to believe coming out of the bye with a new lease on life and a mobile quarterback and a really good idea of what the opposing defense is going to do, that you have hot routes in place for these blitzes, that you have ways to scheme because listen, the old adage is true. You live by the blitz, you die by the blitz. Now, a couple of ways you die by the blitz is when there's a cool, calm, collected, smart quarterback who picks where the blitz is coming from and throws to that spot and knows where to go with the football pre-snap, obviously checks into right protections and takes advantage of a team that is blitz happy. You see pro quarterbacks do this all the time. Oh, you want a blitz, do you? Okay. Now, then you have to get really creative. But this isn't all that creative. Duke is top 10 in havoc rate because they bring tons of pressure and they've played poor competition. Tonight, they'll bring a ton of pressure and they're playing poor competition. But, Mike, what do you have dialed up to help Brock out? Are there hot routes in play? I haven't seen any this year. Basically, the check down has been the hot route. The check down to the back out of the backfield has been the hot route, and we never hit it, but that's the only hot route I've seen.
Yeah, no, I mean, we've called RPO glance into the face of pressure, but that's a call. I mean, that's an RPO. That's not something where you look at the line of scrimmage and you say, uh-oh, hey, alert, let me know here, Ja'Kai, I need you to do this, that, or the other. The thing that Mike was really good at Memphis at when he had weapons and he was clearly the class of that league that he was in. If they needed to score 50, he would score 50. Right. There are those games they had with Cincinnati,
crazy wars, fun games. Yeah.
UCF, USF, they've had games where they needed to score that much and they were expected to score that much and they delivered on the expectation. The interesting thing about his time here is when he's been a hunter, when he's been pushed into a corner, he's come up with gold. But when he's been a front runner, it's almost like there's this maintenance idea. Like not everybody can play with a lead on a Sunday, that kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. It feels like he's trying to. At least here, it wasn't the case there, but again, this is a step up. It feels like when he feels as though he has the answers, he's just trying to guide the ship home rather than attack. And look, this is a feeling thing. This isn't empirical. This isn't with film. But I can tell you that the last 2 seasons, the 1 year with all of the weapons that he's ever dreamed of, having an offense at a given time, that did not feel like they were cutting it loose at any point last year, not named the second half of the LSU game, not named the second half of the Duke game. Yeah. And I'm talking about games where you're in danger. Like Wake, they lit it up. Okay, wonderful. I'm glad that they did it, but Wake was awful. I'm talking about games where, you have light competition. And this year it was an extension of the same, where you felt like you were trying to steer things home rather than cut it loose and attack. I wonder if that changes today because his rhetoric has changed. Perhaps that means that behind the scenes, his philosophy has changed a little bit and we'll see some more creativity and some of that attitude, which is, what do I have to lose? You got, more games? You already lost plenty of those. So there's nothing, this season is lost. There's nothing more to lose. Cut it loose. Let these kids go. Let them run.
The other reason to be excited, as you were describing, your feelings about watching this game tonight, is that he's had 2 weeks and he had the film of the Clemson game. And I don't know how, because I've now watched it 3 times. I do not know how you watch that Clemson game and do not come away with anything other than absolute exuberance and enthusiasm about what potentially Brock Glenn is. Watch it again. He makes a couple mistakes. I don't care. He makes a ton of throws. He makes a bunch of plays. And if he doesn't get screwed by his teammates in terms of kids dropping the football or running the wrong route or not blocking, he's going to throw for 350 yards, Tom, against Clemson with a bad offensive line and no run game.
Yeah.
So I'm telling you now, he's got the coach's film. We now have seen D-Rob's breakdown of it, but I'm having watched that every which way to Sunday. There's no way you don't click off the projector, if you will, and say, I got something. I got a dude that people will play for. I got a dude who cares. I got a dude who can move, who's not afraid to get hit, will run the ball. He'll save a bad play. He'll make something happen out of nothing. He's got a good arm. He's got a very good arm, actually. No, man, I don't know how you wouldn't be pumped to scheme for this kid. And I hope he is. I don't know what's behind. I think it's a little dance about transferring. But I don't know what's behind the lukewarm discussion of Brock most days when he's asked. But, buddy, I would have watched that film and said, man, I should have gone to this kid earlier. In fairness to me, he hasn't practiced well. I couldn't have known he was going to look this good. But, damn it, man, he does. So let's go. Maybe I got a gamer on my hands.
Right, exactly. The idea of the gamer. And again, watching Brock interact with his teammates on the field, there was a quote that it stuck out to me. It was super short, so it was too short to even clip up and put on social. But Jeremiah Byers was asked about Brock, and he said, well, I've noticed that Brock and Luke have really taken, the mantle and DJ after DJ's injury, and they're being very vocal leaders, which is incredibly important, is to be a vocal leader, which is by omission, kind of a shot at the previous administration.
Yes.
Some players don't need it, and clearly Jeremiah Byers, it resonates with him if guys are louder and they're more interactive. But regardless of whether you believe you should be loud as a leader, I saw in the second half of that game, skill position players, offensive linemen, dudes on the sidelines, all interacting with Brock and looking to him. There's a certain body language that it presents when you're looking to somebody, because it's bending the knee in a way. It's like, okay, what do we do? You're allowing somebody to tell you what needs to happen. And you hardly ever saw that with DJ, if ever. I don't know that we ever did, but there is a deference in that moment. Brock has commanded the ability to get the deference of his teammates, and it's because of the way he plays. It's because if there's a little bit of our professional quarterback in him, there's a little bit of Baker Mayfield in him.
Yes, it's a good comment. Yes.
There's a good video out there right now, and I don't know when these things are recorded, because when you see something on Instagram, it could be from months ago, but it's Rob Gronkowski talking about Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah, it's great.
And he's talking about he's just one of the guys, like
drinking 6 beers together. And
right. If he could go and be in the trenches and block, that's what he would do. Because he'll throw a perimeter block, but if he was an offensive lineman, he'd love being an offensive lineman. He wasn't crafted to be this refined other guy who's in a vacuum chamber over here. Mm-hmm. He wants to be one of you. Brock has got that. Now, that's important because we need inspiration. Does that mean that he can throw a shot in between, a couple of zone defenders and he can fit it into a football-sized window with consistency? I don't know. Well, that time will tell on that. The anticipation, the smarts, all that kind of stuff. But we need somebody that inspires, and Brock at least has the makings to do that.
Yeah, going back to the Byers quote, Tom, I think it could just be about being vocal at all. I don't even think it has to be loud. You just have to be able to communicate. A quarterback has to communicate. DJ sat there like a bump on a log. I mean, I don't have anything against DJ, but it was weird. And you would watch just an emotionless, player on the field and a statue at that. And I don't think that inspired players. Failure begets, sort of disinterest and all of that stuff. And I kind of felt like we were at a place, which is why we were calling for the changes, where I don't know that the guys believed I don't think they believed that they were going to win the games. I don't think they believed that they were going to make plays. I don't think they believed he was going to make the throw that needed to be made on 3rd and 9. I don't think they thought, I don't believe that. I think somewhere along the way, the failures mounted, not all his fault. The failures mounted and guys checked out a little bit. I don't like it. I wish it weren't true, but I think it happened. And I think it's a lot harder to check out when a guy is giving everything he's got, emotionally, physically, vocally. He's inspiring you. He's talking. He's competing. And Brock will compete. I don't know how good a quarterback Brock's going to be. Nobody can tell you that yet. He's truly started one game, I say. I mean, truly. Where he's had time to prepare and be the guy and, all of that and have a game plan installed for him. I'd like to see that expanded a little bit tonight, but we'll see how good he's going to be, but I know he's going to compete and I know the players like him and I know he's more mobile. And I think you have some things to work with based on the film of the Florida State Clemson game. You can see there's something there. There's something to work with.
Yeah, there was a restrictor plate on DJ too. I mean, you could see it in the game in Dublin. I remember my buddy Tyler, who's out there, he texted halfway through, does Mike not trust him? Based upon the depth of the routes and the calls, like, what are we doing? You've had all year and you don't trust your quarterback? There was something to that. And if DJ had succeeded, people would have said, well, he's just Joe Cool over there, man. Nothing phases him. He's just quiet and he's a quiet assassin.
When you fail and you're that way, it's a bad look.
Correct. And right now this team, look, this is also a locker room that doesn't have a bunch of dudes that are loud, so it's almost as though it's yearning for the opposite. And especially on that offensive side, like I love Lawrence Toafili and he's a heart and soul kind of player, but he's not going to demand that people pay attention to him on the sideline between drives. That's not the way he's wired. We don't have an offensive lineman like that. Darius tried to be. Darius is awful this season, so no good. You don't have anybody like that. You don't have even a Keon Coleman where you're like, oh, man, I think behind the scenes that guy is mother effing a quarterback and telling him that he wants the ball. You don't have that, so and you don't have the gravitas. None of the receivers do. Brock has a little something to him. And again, you can watch the all 22 like D-Rob presented. Brock picking up a 4th and 10 on a scramble and seeing on film nobody breaking back in a scramble drill to the ball to help him out. That's going to change tonight because Brock has the ability now in the bye week, and I'm sure he has, to say that crap won't cut it. Guys, I'm in this. Are you? Because if you're not, I don't want you. You're not going to get the ball. And it has a little something more to it. There's credibility to it.
When we come back, we can talk about all of the reasons, again, that I think Florida State should see something better tonight in their pass game. Has to. I do think, though, you can also run the ball against this Duke team. I really do. And I know we haven't run the ball against anybody. I know we haven't. But I really think you can if you watch the way this defense plays and you look at that group. There's a bunch of things that I think you can do. Whether we will is a whole nother ball game, and it's fair to push back with that. More of the Warchant Gameday Pregame Show / 3rd hour Libations Friday edition of the Jeff Cameron Show in a moment.
Hey, this is Jay Green from Hotel Indigo Tallahassee. Can I stop and say thank you? Thank you for telling your guests to stay with us. Thank you for hosting your corporate meetings and social events in our rooftop meeting space. Thank you for hanging out with us on FSU football game days. Believe it or not, this sales guy isn't selling anything. I just want to say thank you. But if you've never seen our rooftop and I can ever help, give us a call, 850-755-9011. We are Hotel Indigo Tallahassee. Welcome to our neighborhood.
As I want to do, I look out for your comfort, everybody. You know that, and I've told you for weeks that the cure to what ails you is over at Manscaped. Manscaped.com, promo code Warchant, of course. But you need the salve so the boys are comfortable. Listen, being comfortable is a year-round endeavor. It's not just when it's hot outside. It's not just when there's the potential for rash or chafing, as they like to say. No, it's year-round. Get you the underwear. Get you the salve. Get you the balm. Get you the cream. Get you the nose hair clippers. Get you everything you need to trim and keep proper. There's the crop preserver. There's the stuff that helps you out with every part of your body, not just down there. Go to manscaped.com right now, and if you use the promo code WARCHANT, you'll get 20% off. You really can't beat that. I'm saving you a ton of money. Promo code is WARCHANT for 20% off. Plus, by the way, fellas, free shipping to boot. So there's no reason not to go and check it out and find out how it is that you can look right and feel great year-round, no matter what. Every day you leave that house, you say, I'm buttoned up. The boys are comfortable. I'm ready to go. Manscaped.com, promo code WARCHANT, 20% off plus free shipping. Can't beat it. We should probably flip to the other side of the ball because this is a lot about are you locked in? This is an awful lot about do you care? This is an awful lot about are you going to play hard? Now, we don't like to have these conversations. I just got done going on a rant last week about this, and I think we used it as a clip online. But, it's troublesome to ever wonder whether or not you've got guys that are giving all of their effort. I don't like having that. I don't even like to call it into question because it says something terrible about the people that you're covering when you ask that question. But tonight I ask it because you are 1-5. But if you do care, Tom often says, if you care to be there, if you show up, that's the way we describe it. Well, if they do, they'll shut this Duke offense down every which way to Sunday because it stinks. It's not a good offense. They struggle in a lot of ways. If you look at any number of rankings here, I pulled it all up this morning. I did everything I could, but they can't run the ball to save their life. Their EPA rush is 125th in the country, everybody.
Hey, it's in our ballpark.
It's 125th in the country. Ours is 124th.
Hey, all right.
I knew you'd get a kick out of that, by the way. I figured you'd like that. You want it? Yeah, we'll have a little fun at our own expense. Duke is 125th in EPA rush expectancy, so we're 124th, as I just said. In available yards, they get 39% of available yards. That's 113th in the country. We get 33%, 126th in the country, Tom. Our starting field position this year, by the way, because we don't flip the field because we can't move the ball, is our own 26. That's 115th in the country. Theirs is 43rd in the country because they do move the ball every now and again with the passing game. Mm-hmm. They have a top 20 EPA pass game. We are 89th. Now that might be changing. You saw it change against Clemson. You saw a difference at quarterback. So I will tell you there are a lot of similar numbers, though, when it comes to third down success. Duke is 125th in the country. They cannot get third downs. We're 120th. They're 125th. You're kind of staring into a mirror in terms of ineptitude of offense, and you see it in a lot of ways. So Duke ought not, and this would be bad news for Adam Fuller, Duke ought not have any kind of sustained success tonight on offense. They haven't all year. They're not great. They will play up tempo if they gain yards on first down. If they get yards on first down, that's the key to tonight's game, in my opinion. I'm breaking this out early. Win first down. Because if you can win first down, you take them out of their tempo game. And they want to go, but they can't go when it's 2nd and 10. Now, win tonight on first down, and you can get to this kid. He does not run the ball. I actually decided I was a little bit wrong about him in this way. He does not, the Murphy kid does not, he's not immobile. That's the wrong way to phrase it. He could move. He doesn't want to run. They don't ask him to run, and he doesn't want to run. Now, watch, it'll be our luck tonight that he decides to run. But anyhow, he could run. He's not one of these, statues because he can't do anything else. He's a statue by design. He doesn't want to run, and they don't want him to run. I don't know if he's afraid to get hit. I don't know if he's got a fumbling problem. I don't know what it is. But there were all kinds of, on the tapes that I've watched, there are all kinds of moments where he could have run, and he just didn't do it. Just didn't do it. So you should know where he's going to be is my point. And your defensive line is better than their offensive line, period, across the board. It just is. There's no reason, no effing reason that you shouldn't mirror defensively what you did against Cal. You should be able to muster that kind of an effort, that kind of a game tonight against Duke, because that offensive line's not good. They've struggled all year to run the ball. They get behind the chains. That's why their third down success rate is 126. That's why they've been bad offensively. I know they're 5-1. I'll keep saying that. I get it. But it's not because they have a prolific offense. I can promise you that.
Yeah, well, one thing I'll give this defense credit for, and it sounds backhanded, but I mean this, is they'll stay in the fight till it's proven to them there's no reason to fight anymore.
Yeah.
Now, you could say the back half of that should never be. Fair. That's a different discussion. What I'm telling you is they show up, and once the offense gives them no reason to breathe anymore, they quit breathing. And this is where it falls back again to me on the offense. I think the defense is tired of offensive failings. You look at the SMU game, and there are multiple instances where the defense is trying. I'm trying real hard, Ringo, to be the shepherd. And we're calling back-to-back quarterback runs for DJU. Damn it. I'm trying real hard, Ringo. This time I'm going to be the shepherd. And it goes off of Morlock's chest plate, flies into the air for a short field. I got nothing more in me. All right, maybe Ringo. One more time. I can summon it. Face mask on a punt. Okay, well, we're done here.
Yeah.
If Brock gives you some semblance of a pulse, and we already know he has a better aura about him that is resonating with his team more, and he doesn't have a bad Brock game, because that's in there too with his practice performances, where he could throw a couple of picks the first 3 drives, 2 of which aren't competitive, and you go, well, crap, what do we do now? As long as that's not what happens from Brock, then I expect the defense to arrive, play hard, and then perhaps feed off of a little thing called complimentary football they do in a lot of places.
Hey, what are we doing here?
Feed off of the success of the offense, or at least the non-stagnance of the offense, to where the defense doesn't have to be on the field for 20-odd minutes in the first half of this football game. So we'll see. But I think it all depends on the offense tonight. I understand your point completely, but I think it from an inspiration standpoint and an investment standpoint, Brock Glenn has a lot to do with how the defense plays tonight.
Oh, I think you're right. I'm just talking physically. This should be a great matchup for this defense against this offense. If they care to be there and they show up and they play hard, they really have a chance to have great success tonight, to really limit Duke, to put Duke in a position to where they're going to score 17 points, 14 points. I know a third and full is going to get us at least 3 or 4 times because that's what his defenses do. When he doesn't have NFL players everywhere. So, I get it. I'll account for that. But other than a few of those breakdowns, you know what? When this defense plays well, if we're being honest, they're pretty much a 20-20 defense. They'll let you get in the red zone and they'll get stops, and then you kick field goals. And, when we're playing well, like that's what we did to Cal. And you've seen stretches when we did that to a lot of people where you could get a few first downs. You can make a few plays there, but when the field got condensed, you had a harder time. We were able to be more physical at the point of attack in those situations. Yep. We were able to eventually muster some pressure when you were in third and obvious, and we didn't have to cover the whole field. We saw those kinds of things. That's what Florida State's defense has been good at when they're good. And I would suspect that tonight, maybe even to a lesser degree, they're 20-20. They ought to be able to muster some 3 and outs and have a chance to really set up the offense with good field position. But you're right. This is all about the entirety of a team. And if your offense is going 3 and out on the other side constantly and putting them in bad positions or turning the football over or, not giving them a reason to have hope, then we don't see inspirational play. You're right. But physically, they match up well here.
This defensive front in terms of getting off the field reminds me of college basketball and free throws. It's contagious. Either they do as in a bunch or they don't in a bunch. If you get a couple of sacks early in this game, you might have 7 by the time the night's over, because that's the most damning thing I can say about this group is they don't have somebody who leads the way come hell or high water. It's like either everybody's going to be good or only Josh Farmer is going to be good and nobody else for that defensive front. And that's something that is annoying to me. But, I don't think it's any coincidence that Marvin Jones Jr. Has a coming out party against Cal after Farmer dominates and then Peyton eats and you make a couple of plays before that. And it's like, oh, well, I can do it too. It's contagious both ways. But, if they do start well, and they do get off the field with a couple of pressures and they get the quarterback on the ground, I think you could see one of those nights where they rack up tackles for loss at a total that we really are impressed by because of the numbers you cited, because of the offensive EPA in the run game, which tells me that their O-line's no good. Like, if you start quickly, I do believe it begets itself, but we'll see.
It's going to be paramount to tackle. It sounds ridiculous, again, to have to say that. When you watch Duke play, and I gave them credit for being fundamentally sound, that's what I was alluding to. They don't hurt themselves by doing dumb things and taking terrible angles. They don't do things like that. They tackle you. They do that. Manny Diaz's teams tend to do that. By the way, Manny Diaz is not a terrible coach, not a bad defensive coach. And so his defenses, everywhere he's been, his defenses have tackled. They've been able to generate havoc. If you go back in his history, you look at him, that's what he's been able to do. So you'll see that tonight. But offensively, what Duke likes to do, again, they want to run tempo, especially if they gain yards on first down. The other thing is they don't dial up shot plays. If you look at the explosive rate, and I have that number here too, but it's way down with us near the bottom. They they don't throw the ball down the field because they don't have explosive athletes out on the edges. So what they'll do is they throw everything underneath and they require you to come up and tackle. And if you miss a tackle, it turns into 15 yards instead of 4. And I really think, guys, can we tackle somebody tonight? Because it's going to be important. 2nd and 6, 3rd and 2, can you get off the field, make those tackles, try to get some pressure, maybe you get a stop there and you're off the field. But if you come up and take bad angles again, like you did throughout the Georgia Tech game, like you have in the SMU game, if you do that, well, then Duke's offense is allowed to operate at the pace that it wants to, and they'll just continue to throw underneath, and you'll never have a chance to get pressure on the quarterback because he'll get the ball out of his hands with these little screens, these little short passes, these little digs and slants, and you'll be in trouble. To me, come up and tackle. This is a fundamental game. Scares me to say that because we're not always fundamentally sound, but that's what this is.
Well, okay, so bear with me, everybody, here for this exercise. But you would say that Florida State player for player is how many points better than Duke? Athlete for athlete, based upon what you've watched.
How many points better than Duke? Well, now with the quarterback change, I'll grant you our offensive line isn't very good. Player for player, we don't have great players.
Certainly better than Duke, though. And if you're in the chat right now saying, well, we're 1-5, we don't have better players than Duke, you can just hit the X button at the top of this and leave because we all know that that's not true. So
we have better players than Duke. They don't play better always, though. That's fair. I think Florida State is 20 points better than Duke.
Okay, I thought you might say that number. That's funny. So now you get down to the dumb crap factor. We do it, they don't. How many points is that worth? 10?
Minimum of 10.
Right. And then you got turnovers, field position, and that's where this is the game. I think that's where this is the game. Is we've got 3 scores better in terms of potential, which is it's a dirty word because we don't ever live up to it. Maybe tonight they do a little bit more of it. But then you're talking about fundamentally sound, well coached. If you didn't click the X button, now you're still with me and you're saying, yeah, exactly. We don't do anything with it. Agreed. And that's worth points too. And that's where this fight is. Is it 3rd and 12 and we call a zone that 4 people don't know what to do. And so they expose us.
Just send out the tight end and he gets the first down.
Right. Is it 3rd and 3? We decide to call a run up the middle and Maurice Smith and Andre Otto don't know whose responsibility is what, and we turn somebody loose and it's a tackle for loss, it's 4th and 6, and instead of kicking a field goal, now we're punting, or we were going to go for it on 4th down and now we're not. Like, all of those little things add up. It's a punt in the air, and LaWayne McCoy has plenty of time to get underneath the ball, but decides, oh, it's a ball, I don't want it to hit me. And he points at it, and you lose 30 yards because it rolls out, because we never coach our guys to come up and catch the ball. That's worth a point or two as well. Like, so this is the battle that we're fighting.
Yeah, let's come back and wrap it up and tell everybody what we think is going to happen and where the game lies in terms of a point total. It's the Warchant Game Day / Jeff Cameron Show, 3rd hour here on Libations Friday. We'll wrap it in just a moment.
Hey, this is Jay Green from Hotel Indigo Tallahassee. Can I stop and say thank you? Thank you for telling your guests to stay with us. Thank you for hosting your corporate meetings and social events in our rooftop meeting space. Thank you for hanging out with us on FSU football game days. Believe it or not, this sales guy isn't selling anything. I just want to say thank you. But if you've never seen our rooftop and I can ever help, give us a call, 850-755-9011. We are Hotel Indigo Tallahassee. Welcome to our neighborhood.
I would love for this to be a bit of a breakout game. I'm really kind of hanging my hat on and hoping that it's a bit of a breakout game for Florida State tonight. I think it has the potential to be. I worry about the offensive line. They have not found any sense of consistency whatsoever with that group this year. I'm not here to tell you Brock Glenn is going to be akin to Jordan Travis or anything like that. I just think he can be a more than functional, a plus quarterback for you. I think he can be. Now, I don't know if he's the quarterback of the future, but he's the quarterback of right now, and he has tools. And Mike's got to utilize that tool bag. I mean, that guy can move. Let him keep on the read. Let's see some of that. Right? How come we don't ride? You watch every team in America. They got a play where they're riding the running back, and then they pull, and he either keeps, he's reading the end or the backer, and then you go. We never see that. Like, you can engineer a running game when your offensive line isn't good enough. You have to use gimmicks, if you will. These gimmicks are now part of football everywhere. So do it. Do it, Mike. Do it tonight. Let's go.
Yeah, look, I would also return to the Wildcat.
100%.
5-6 years ago, I would have told you that it's hubris to think that the same person would be calling for the Wildcat, because I always thought it was gimmicky. And
it was, of course.
To a degree it is, but Lawrence Toafili specifically runs it so well, man. There's an intelligence to the timing that to hit it right in the Wildcat. I'm trying to pull up one of the graphics that I had from a Brock Glenn piece I wrote last week, where you can just see his feel for the timing. And it's almost like a drop step move that he makes to manipulate rushers and blitzers. Like, Lawrence Toafili is not afraid of pressure in those situations. And by pressure, I mean, rushers. He has a dynamic to him. It's not on the same level as Dalvin Cook, but he understands the dynamics of guys' movements and what he can bait somebody into in order to gain the edge. Things like that. Pressing up, we talked about press before bounce. That's why he was really good at some of the outside zone runs that we had. So here it is on the screen. I'm starting to share it now. But this is a play from the ACC championship game where you're watching Florida State use a basic pull concept, but it's a drop step, a press, and a go. Against a blitz, I feel like this particular scheme, if you told me before the game starts that you bring Brock to the table and then Toafili in the Wildcat, I feel very, very good about our chances. Because, again, you can catch Manny in situations where he's got too many guys to one side, and then here's Toafili and his smarts helping you on the ground. The running game, with or without Brock Glenn at quarterback, sucks. It's awful. It's just awful. So how can you help yourself? By getting into gimmicks and specialty plays. When you get into goal line situations like Toafili did last year on the drive that won us the ACC championship, use the numbers to your advantage. God, dog, you need 12. You need a Dan Lanning your way on offense to get into the end zone. You need 12 men, 11 blockers with a guy with the ball. Just take your pride and throw it out the window. We have not been able to run the ball at all. bring Brock's arm to the party, and then get weird on the ground. And you might have something that is exciting for all of us to watch and something that's successful and gets you a win tonight.
Well, you tend to have to go to gimmicks, if we're going to call them that, and you have to try to change the math and do all these things to make it 11-on-11 football instead of 10-on-11. You have to do that when you're not good. I mean, but that's just how you say it. Right. You have to do those things when you're not good. You would never have to do that with the offense that Jameis Winston ran. You had great players everywhere. He was a pocket passer with a cannon who could read a defense. Yep. Your drop back pass game was going to lead the way. You were going to be able to line up and push people off the ball and run it to the tune of 2nd and 6. And then you could throw off a play. You could do all those things, but this team can't do those things. So you have to do what you're describing. And that takes creativity and imagination, of which we've seen none from Mike this year. And I am frustrated by that more than almost anything else. Yes, in totality, the big picture conversation about not having this or not having that and what happened to this player, he's regressed and all those. True, but it's no longer relevant in the sense that it's a certainty. You already know those things to be accurate. We're not guessing anymore. It's not week 3. You know what you're not. So let's get creative. Yep. Let's do something out of the ordinary, because you can't do the ordinary. You can't do the traditional. You don't have it in you. Let's see something that is very creative tonight with a kid who's dying to run an offense like that because he's tough and he likes to run and he's got, he's a gamer. Let's see it happen.
Yeah, again, creativity, desperation, it's different colors, but it's the same rainbow. It's like all the same thing. And if Mike has been desperate, this was not that long ago. That's 7-8 games ago that he was desperate. He needed something. He turned to the Wildcat, and voila, they win the ACC championship because of that drive. That touchdown was the difference. So what has been stunning this season is, does he not believe he's desperate? Because Hey, listen, I'll cut you off there because I think you're right. I know you said that somewhat facetious, but I think through 4 games, Tom, like the 4 games, let's say, I don't think he was desperate. I think he thought it was going to work. He thought it's going to click. It's going to work. Something's going to click. We're going to be okay. And then I'll be able to run what I always wanted to run when I brought DJ here. It just never did. And so now this is the second half of the season. Yep.
This is it. This is the second half of the season. Go have some fun. Go make it fun. You got a chance to be a weird team. You got a chance to do anything creative you've ever wanted to do as an offensive play caller, because you have to. It's crazy. Run flea flickers, run reverses, run all the nonsense that you want to run, because guess what? All you're doing now the rest of the way is playing the role of spoiler and finding out what kind of young kids you got.
Yeah, this is you remember the SMU calls? We all do, the goal to go back to back. You did trick him on 3rd and goal, and if Toafili makes a block, you score a touchdown. Yeah. You didn't trick him on 4th and goal.
Well, no.
But here's the guy you can use in that situation is Cam Davis in a Wildcat as well. The first pulse I've seen from Cam in a non-practice setting was on a 2nd and 20 last week against Clemson, where it stopped for 3 or 4, and he pushes the pile an extra 5 to 6 yards, and you get 10 yards out of the run.
Yeah.
Now, the rest of his carries amounted to like 1.1 yards per. But in a situation like 1st and goal from the 4, I don't even need to see Toafili in the Wildcat. Go give me some Cam Davis, and let's see if he can move the pile. Because
played quarterback in high school, can throw it. You can throw off of it.
Yes.
You can do all these fun things. Have a blast, man.
Yeah.
Go have some fun. Infuse some life into this team by being creative and fun and utilizing your really, really, I think, creative aspect of your coaching mind. He's had it in the past. It's existed.
Yeah. You believe that was real, that was a thing that happened. The creativity of Mike Norvell's play calling was a thing, right? It wasn't a function of an assistant coach. It was him.
It was him. It was completely him. I believe it. Yes.
I do too.
I believe it.
It's also the best way to retain these guys when the time comes.
100%.
Is that they're having a blast in your offense, and they, for the second half of this season, had some success along the way, and they want to build on it.
Yeah, you haven't recruited well enough to go out and play traditional football and bully people. You just haven't. So that's what you got right now, and go have fun with it. I bet you're going to have to do the same thing next year, only begin the year that way until you stockpile some players.
Right.
It's been a fun one. I got Florida State winning the game tonight. I'd like to say comfortably, but I can't. I'll take the Noles, as I said when we did the predictions yesterday. What I take 24, 21, something like that? I think
Yeah.
that's what I said.
That's
I'll stick with it. Maybe lower scoring than that. Maybe it might be 17-14, but I think Florida State wins the game.
I do as well. Look, man, I'm always going to be the optimist, but there's real reason this time with the quarterback. So let's see if they capitalize on it.
We appreciate our friends at Hotel Indigo. Of course we do, and we appreciate all of you. I hope you have a great weekend. Go Noles tonight, and we'll talk on Monday. Be good, everybody. Peace.